What if personalization in sales started with biology, not with rapport through small talk?
Welcome to Rise to Lead, where unique perspectives redefine leadership.
Welcome to Rise to Lead. Today I'm joined by Andrew Colombini. Andrew, really great to have you on.
It's great to be here and meeting with you once again.
Yes, it's lovely to have yet another conversation. I'm glad you could make it. So let me give you a quick intro for our listeners. Andrew Colombini is a sales and influence strategist who has spent over 15 years studying why people don't buy. I'm very curious about that. He's focused on what the top 1% of closers do differently and what most miss. His work led him to create the Biotype influence system, helping people understand decision styles within minutes. The result is more aligned conversations, fewer objections, and clients who actually stay. Now, Andrew, take us back a bit. How did you get into this work and what made you focus on this particular topic? What made you came up with your biotype influence system and this whole personalization topic?
Yeah, it's an interesting story because I couldn't tell you 5, 10 years ago this is what I'd be doing. I think that's true for a lot of us. My camera's a little choppy, but it'll come back. Um, you can still hear me okay though?
Yes, no
Okay,
worries.
perfect. So it started, in sales where we're always trying to get better. And I was studying DISC personality, Myers-Briggs, all these different personality typing systems. And eventually I was led to this world that you can read people's personality. And of course, within sales, you go into psychology and yeah, it's not so linear, but eventually I was introduced to the biotype system, and it was this ability to look at people and be able to read and know who they are. Like I studied astrology, human design. I thought that was cool. I thought that was interesting,
Mhm.
but none of them were ever really rooted in science. Not that to say it's not true, but I needed something a little bit more grounded. And when I came across biotypes and I can read types, I can see people and I can understand their type without running a chart, without having them take a personality test. I thought that was fantastic and amazing. And this course ran by Rodrigo Garcia Platas, I became a coach on their team through biotypes. He was applying it mainly to emotional intelligence and applying it to relationships. Uh, and that was for personal use, really. I didn't really use it for anything but how can I get better in my life? And then I started running a business. And of course, when you run a business, you're trying to figure out what is your thing, what's your message. And eventually I was like, why don't I know sales and biotypes I love. Why don't I just do a business around it? And originally it was around just like business in of itself. But I needed to get more niche down. And so I decided to do biotypes in sales. And so I've been studying this method. I'm the only one that I know of because I've done a lot of research, and the top two people that I know I was trained by. I don't know anybody else that's doing this. I've done a lot of research. There could be people out there, but I don't know anyone who's doing biotypes. Almost everyone I say biotypes have no clue what it is. So it's really cool. And it also connects with all the other systems as well. So that's
Yeah,
kind of how I got there.
absolutely. Yes, it definitely also, when I read your emails, I did suspect that there might be a little bit of human design. I studied some of it too.
Mm.
And of course, when it comes to decision making, I personally learned a lot from human design about my own decision making and why sometimes it didn't work the way I wanted it to work in the past, right? So this is really interesting, and I always look for unique perspectives on this podcast. So it's a great fit for my show to learn more about this, and I'm sure many of our listeners are very curious to learn more. So let's talk sales then, right? So you say the sale is determined long before the close. So what are people getting wrong in those first few minutes, if anything?
Um, Again, it depends on what where you're looking. If you look at most salespeople, what they're doing is they're either trying to build rapport, they're trying to set these schedules or this format of how the call is going to go. It feels pretty salesy. Also, people don't understand that people think people, most salespeople, and really people think people sounds weird, are generally the same. Like, obviously, we're different, but people think that we're all pretty similar, and that's just not the case. Like, there are very different types of people. And so what they're missing is, um, well, they don't have the ability to know someone right away. So they have to ask questions. If they're a good sales influencer, they're asking the right questions to dig deep. If they're not, then they're just kind of flowing with it and then hoping that all the people that they've had success with, the types that they typically enroll, this person happens to be that same type.
Right. So it's about personalization, obviously, because
Absolutely.
everybody is different. But also personalization has become a big buzzword. So what does it actually look like when it's done your way? So
Yeah.
in those conversations, I'm curious about that.
Absolutely. Personalization is a wiring thing. It's the way you're designed. As a matter of fact, there's six types.
Mhm.
And if we were to open up one, I know this because the main researcher Albert Garoli studies cadavers. He studies mummies, and not mummies, but he studies, yeah, cadavers. He looks at different organs. Like, is this activator different than this diplomat, which are two different types? And he found that activators have a bigger um, um, I want to say pancreas, adrenals, brain fart. They
Yeah.
have bigger adrenals. Adrenals regulate stress. Activators can handle more stress. So we see that actually in these types, they have bigger organs. They can handle more stress. We've studied it. So personalization goes down to, it's a hormonal level, it's a wiring level. We can look at the six types and we can see on an EEG. If I put an EEG on your head, and over a month we would see part of the brain that you use the most. EEG is like brain scan, just seeing like what areas
Yes.
of the brain. We all use the brain, we all use the hormones, like we're all human,
Mhm.
but the way in which there's levels to it. And the reason why is in the womb there's three germ layers that develop the body, and whichever one is stronger determines your type, and that type reveals clues, the part of the brain you use the most, the hormone you're most sensitive to. That's why I'm a dopamine sensitive type. As a matter of fact, most salespeople who are natural are my type or another type. And I see this a lot in business, is that certain types want to come in here and they're struggling because the types that originally created the industry, originally created the space, are not the other person, and they can't follow that method. So personalization is understanding, who am I on a biological level first before we go into the stars. We got to know where I am right now. Biologically, this is where I'm at, this is how I'm wired, this is the way that I'm going to do something, and this is absolutely the way that I should not do it. That's almost as important.
Right. And, I looked a little bit into your biotype file that you shared with me at some point. So it's also about body, uh, like about the way your body is built, right?
Mm.
Isn't it? So I'm really intrigued with this, and what the six types are, and how you can distinguish a type this quickly.
Yeah, that's a great question because of anthropometry. That's the size in which, and there's a lot of ologies. I can't think of it right now,
Yeah.
but Anthropometry is the length and the size of different places on the body. For example, really easy one is we look at the
Physiology.
face.
Yeah.
We look at the face, and face reading is close, but face reading isn't the whole picture. I can't just look at your face. I have to also look at like shoulders. I have to look at your hand, wrist. Here are three secret ways to identify someone on a sales call. And you have to obviously know biotypes. But I look at the face. Is it long? Is it square? Is it poofy or is it defined? That gives me a lot of information. For example, there are types that it's really hard for them to put on weight because all their energy goes to the brain. They're ectomorphic dominant. And then there's types who are endodermic. We can get the science another time, but the reason why is because most of their energy goes to the internal organs. All comes back to where I'll come back to this in a second, because biotype is a survival mechanism of our past. If we look at different countries, we see dominant biotypes. Why? Because that environment is how they adapted to it. The germ layers, oh, I need to have a stronger intelligence. I need to have a stronger frontal brain because it gets cold. And if it's cold and I don't plan for the winter, I die. So you see a lot of certain types in colder climates versus warmer climates. And so coming back to what I was talking about, when I look at a face and I see that the section from like the eyebrow underneath the nose is longer or shorter, it reveals more testosterone or estrogen. The shape of the face let me know more about what type they are, because my type will never have a square, chunky. It just won't happen. It doesn't happen. Otherwise, I'll be a different type. So there's rules in the body because I'm wired this way. This won't happen. Like my calves will not grow no matter how much I work them out. But some people, there's a joke online where it's like my calves that are like super skinny and I work out every day, and some 40-year-old stepdad who hasn't seen a gym in 10 years calves, and they're massive because hormones determine our shape. Okay. So coming back to the sales call, if you see that this section is longer, more estrogen. If it's shorter, there's more testosterone. If you're able to see a wrist, and I can visualize it now because I can see finger length to wrist. But if you get, and I'll tell you right now, yours will touch or probably overlap knowing your type. But if you get your dominant hand, middle finger, thumb, put it underneath the wrist bone, okay, so underneath your non-dominant hand, do they barely touch or do they overlap?
They touch, but
Yes.
they
Okay.
are
So you actually
pretty
might be
exactly.
a crusader like me, right? See how your face is longer, more rectangle like me. You could probably you're very driven naturally. You can, if you have a strong enough goal, you'll just keep going, going, going. Your pinpointed focus, and you won't stop until you get it. Um. Anyways, I could read you at the end if you want, but what am I saying? Because there's different little clues, and if I see a wrist that's skinny, then and I see this part and I see that the chest is the way it is and how they're coming off too. It's like checkbox. Yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. I'm like, okay, they're probably, and I teach this to my clients, within 15 minutes, you shouldn't at least know one or two of the people that you're talking to. I already know just instantly I looked at you, I know three types you can't be. There's no way.
Okay. What
Right.
are they
So you're
that I
either
can
a you're either a crusader, a censor, which I don't think, or a diplomat.
okay.
Um, these people, either a crusader or a diplomat, they're all ectomorphic. Ectomorphics are lean. You're probably were lean your whole life. If you do put on weight, it's just like from like top of the chest, and I could be wrong. I'm just seeing face, but top of the chest to like mid thigh. Like you don't really put a lot of weight on calves or arms. Um, you're either like very driven or you're very connected. You're always thinking about other people. Those two will help me more close at the end. Which one resonates just for fun? Which one
Yeah,
resonates the most?
definitely. I think just from the sound of it, the Crusader probably resonates more. I was definitely, in my teenage years, I put on more weight all of a sudden and then no longer all of a sudden again. And now but it's exactly in that area that you said.
Yeah.
So
You don't have to
it's
think about it. It's
definitely
like it's never been a problem. People need to think about like, oh, I need to get a diet regimen. It's like if you have a clear enough goal, then sometimes you'll be in like working, and you'll forget. If you're really focused on something, you could forget to eat. You're just really focused on achieving and creating. Is your ancestry like Northern European,
Central European.
Central?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Um,
German, like
yes. Okay. So
all of
I'm
them.
Italian, so I would consider that Northern, even though it's technically
Yeah.
not.
Yeah. It's not to Italy.
So but in any case, I know on a sales call that you need to have some intellectual piece to it. It's either the step by steps, you value intellectual certainty. So if I can give you that on the call, and Crusaders tend to value or they value people who collect themselves better, people who are well put together, people who are higher value. Like you would rather work with someone who seems more put together than someone that maybe isn't. Um, in any case, what you would need at the end of the call is the result. What's this result specifically going to give you? And then how exactly is it going to happen? That's really important to you if you're a crusader, right? I don't know for sure.
Okay. Can I ask a quick question about this? Could this also be because I'm actually a little bit more on the creative side and I look for that structure from the other person, and because I'm more on that, so I could go a little bit into chaos, which is not always a bad thing, sometimes, and so I look for that, or bring me back to something from the other person. Um,
Mhm.
is that something that resonates or
So
not?
there's a lot there's a lot of nuance to
Hmm.
this. Um, because there's also personality, which is 20%, that's nurture. So
Hmm.
nature is 80%, that's your biology. So this is how I make it easy for people:
Hmm.
thinkers, feelers, and doers biologically. Okay. I'm a thinker doer because then we also have ones in between: thinker feelers, thinker doers, and then feeler doers. The three, and then one in between. You might be a thinker doer. I don't know. Well, I would know by the end, but I know for a fact you're a thinker, and that's more important than the other one. There's one that's more important than the other. And if I can, again, it's never perfect. And when I work with clients, we take 17 body metrics. It's not, let me read you. I make sure that a computer that's trained on this anthropometry, if this is long and this is short, and your face is this way, and these measurements, 9,000 calculations gives you your type. Okay. But what I'm saying is that if you have the foundation of influence, which is getting people to do something because they want to, moving them through their resistance, which is, how can I part with 5, 10, $15,000? That's crazy. You get to them to see the vision. And I know just a little bit more about your type. If I know you're a thinker and I know that, that's going to maybe be that 1% that gets you over the top for you to feel comfortable starting today. I think the biggest thing though with this is that I'm I know what not to say. And I think that's even more important.
That is so true. Let's talk about this. So, you know, as you go on a call, let's just say, or maybe it's a video call, maybe it's an audio call, I don't know what you need for this. Do you need a video call for this? It's better,
Um,
right?
it's going to make a much bigger difference if you have a video call. Now, you can read personality through voice, how people
Mhm.
talk. You could still pick up information because what I teach is read people, but you can't always be so sure because until you stand up and I see where your arm comes down to your side and the size of your calf and whatnot, I really don't know. But what I do know is that each type generally acts this way. So if you're more quiet, you're more inquisitive, you're not like super friendly. Maybe you are friendly, but the questions you ask are inquisitive. I can then begin to think, okay, this person again is probably a thinker. Actually, maybe they're a thinker feeler. And that happens sometimes, right? Let's try to get 80% right within 15 minutes, but it could be like, oh my God, all of a sudden at the end, I know I think this person's actually thinker feeler. And what they need to hear to feel safe and
Mhm.
trust is they need to hear this aspect. And I think that's also another thing salespeople miss is that this person really needs to hear this thing that you can easily say, but you don't know to say it because you can't read the person in front of you.
Right. So, what then are some key signals someone should listen for or look for if it's a video call early on in the call? Like, can you just give us a few, you
Yeah.
gave us a few things already, but like if I were new to this and I say, okay, I want to look for three things, right?
Yeah. The first thing is that is this person lean, skinny? Are
Mhm.
they more muscular built? And muscular built, you have to be able to determine if it's because they work out or this person's naturally muscular. You have to know the distinction. Um, and then the third thing is, are they more round and soft features? That's the thinker, feeler, doers. Okay. Thinkers are skinny, doers are more muscular, feelers are more round and soft. Then from there, let's see, for someone who's listening to this right now, how would you, um, I would just say, thinker, feeler, doer. Just listen to them. Are they requesting more information? Are they more inquisitive? Are they trying to connect with you? They're sharing about relationships. Relationships matter to them. Or are they talking about how can I get started now? Quick action. Now you might be thinking, well, that sounds like disc personality, and that sounds like Myers-Briggs. Yeah, because they were close.
Mhm.
It's not like what
Okay.
they had was wrong. They just didn't understand that 80% is biology and it stays with you your whole life. You don't change your biotype. It doesn't change. You can change your personality. That's why it could be one thing today and one thing another tomorrow. But personality is a mask. And if I back you in a corner and your natural instincts come out, that's when your biotype comes out. Anyways, I side tangented. That's like how I would tell people today.
I think this is very important what you just said, actually, Andrew, because also, we think we are our personality or our identity. And what we really are is something that's underneath that. That's our essence, right?
Mm.
And we put on sometimes this mask, not even willingly, but we through our experience we have made experiences. So sometimes we put on protection, sometimes whatnot. So everybody has a different way of staying safe, and the word safe is such a central word. You said it before. We want to feel safe in those conversations, and especially in a sales conversation as a potential client. If
Yeah.
we don't feel safe, then we're out.
Can I share with you something like the benefit of understanding this system?
Please.
The most important, well, many most important things. Um, if I'm sitting with someone and they know how to read me, think of it like this. I'm speaking their language, but I'm not forcing an accent. Forcing an accent is being someone I'm not. Oh
Mhm.
my God, this person's speaking English to me. This is great. I love this. Wow. He's asking the right question. Like, that's exactly where I'm at. This person, it stops becoming a sale. A sale feels weird because it's choppy. It's these forced mechanics or it's out of place. But when you understand a type and you know how to speak to them, it flows naturally. The natural inclination at the end is to join. Now, of course, there's still going to be subjections, is what I call them. There's no such thing as an object, but people will subject to it. That's fine. But it's going to be a lot easier for them to join. And the most important thing that one of my mentors, Jim Miller, previous former VP of sales for Tony Robbins, taught me is that just because someone signs a contract does not mean they're a client. Your job on the call is to convert a prospect into a client. And the only way someone can become a true client is if they're in resonance and alignment with you and your offer.
Oh, wow, I love this. I think everybody everybody should hear it. I certainly signed some contracts that I regretted. That it was not really a client, not because I didn't want to become a client, but it just was not the right fit at the time. But I was, I think that happens a bit sometimes when we're a little bit desperate, when we want to find somebody to save us, in a way. And that's not really how it works, though. And so that's why I love this. Now,
Can I add something to what you just said?
yes, please.
Okay. First off, and I've done this many times on a call, is I stopped it midway because this person wasn't ready.
Yeah.
And that's important. The other aspect is they weren't ready until I stopped it and talked to them and got real and brought up the truth. And they got to sit with that live with me and we got to work through it together. That was a moment that they turned from a prospect into a client. And I would say, going back to that time that you just shared, if the
Mhm.
person had the biotype influence understanding, in that moment, you could have decided, both of you together, whether moving forward was right or not. And if you're a thinker, this is probably what happened too. There was still that piece. There's a little hole. The 1%, 99% was maybe there, but 1% was like, I don't know about this thing. And that was the end of it. But if on that call they sealed it up and you entered, you would feel like, wow, this is perfect. And not only would you trust them because they're really good at what they do, when they guide you through the process because they understand your biotype and how you learn and all this. That's the other aspects of the biotypes. You would have an amazing experience.
Well, yes, and then you would have that would also benefit the whole process, especially in a coaching situation, right? If they really can understand you better. Because
Mhm.
what I love to hear from my clients is, Regina, you really get me. These are the things that we love to hear as coaches, because then we know, okay, this is really, we're off to a great start. Let's just say
Mm-hmm.
it that way. So I want to go
Yeah.
back to something that you said. You said you don't call it objections, but subjections. So
Yes.
explain that to us.
There's no object to overcome. People always say
Mhm.
overcome objections. There's no object. It's a subjection. Subjections are subjective.
Mhm.
And this is a secret I'll drop for you. The reasons why people don't buy. There's actually only three reasons why people don't buy.
Mhm.
I, the client, don't trust you. I, the client, don't trust me. I, the client, don't trust your program. It's nothing to do with money. It has nothing to do with time. It has nothing to do with any of that. That's the only reasons why people won't join. What is that? That's subjective. That's an unconscious belief. That's something you, as the enrollment coach, because sales are dead. Sales is dead. It's enrollment. You, as the enrollment coach's job, is to identify one or all three of those and help them move through it before you get to the end and start trying to overcome an object.
Right.
Okay. So the
Yeah.
subjections, again, are subjective.
Right. And they are usually questions that you need to address
Yeah.
because, I mean, they're just doubts or questions that are still in the room and that need to be addressed. And maybe then it's still a no, and that's fine. Or maybe it's a yes, but at least the person is in a position where they can make a decision, right?
There's no
And
reason why someone should not join your program
mhm,
if they're qualified,
mhm.
unless it's not in alignment. So the
Yeah,
only
that's the
answers,
other thing, though. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
yeah, the only answers at the end should be yes or no.
yeah. And that's also what we then, as the person who is trying to get this client, I mean, to say it a little bit weird, but that we also must consider, right? That we also must be able to admit sometimes it's just not in alignment. Sometimes it's
Yeah.
just not what they need.
And that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's okay.
So what so you've studied the top 1% closers, to call them
Yeah.
something, right? Also another
Mhm.
weird term, but what do they
It's just a
consider?
term people know. I don't like
Yeah,
that word either.
exactly. But what do they consistently do differently that others don't even notice?
Yeah.
And that is, of course, related to what you're telling us here.
Yeah. So if we look at the top 1% of closers, and I'm talking high ticket, these are people who are selling five at the minimum, usually 10, $15,000 deals plus, is they understand that the questions you ask must go deep into the actual root of the problem. If I say I wish I was more consistent, I just need to be more consistent, that's not good enough. That's the surface. So they understand that. They know how to go deeper into the actual reason of why a person is there. And they don't try to, um, as Jim would say, fight in smoke, try to like battle in smoke because people will give smoke screens. Oh, I don't have the time. And oh, if you don't have the time, then let's figure out the time. You could figure out the time. They try to handle something that's not there. They also will say, um, well, without getting, I don't, unless you want me to give you specific examples, that's pretty much what it is they top closers understand that I need to go deep into the person. I need to figure out exactly what is going on. What do they really need? And then move them through their resistance at the end when they try to say, I don't have enough money or I need to, whatever. You're able to identify, like, I'm not surprised you said that. And being able to go deep into it because that's what, and if we look at the other types of people who sell, again, they look at, I need to think about it. So, what do you need to think about? Let's think about it right now. As that was never the reason. It's maybe they don't trust you. Maybe they, again, don't think the program's going to work for them. Or maybe they're afraid to take a risk because they've taken risks before. They've joined a program that costed them a lot of money and that is still lingering with them. So you have to have a serious conversation with them. And if that's the case, it's something as simple as, well, what do you think the situation is? You always want to know where they're at. And then you use what they're saying, you shine the mirror back at them. And instead of trying to convince them off the raft, which is what a lot of salespeople do, is come over here on my raft, get off of yours. What an enrollment coach will do is a better word. I don't like closer, but again, I use that for the description, is they pop the person's raft. What does that mean? Well, if it basically sobers them up. Oh, everything's fine. And then I show a mirror in their life and they're like, oh, wow, maybe things aren't really okay. Whether they move forward with me or not is totally up to the alignment path. But my job is to reveal the truth for them. And that's what differentiates someone who's a salesperson. Well, this feature is going to give you this, and this benefit's going to give you that. And what do you mean you want to think about it? And what, that's dead. That's old. That doesn't work.
Yeah, no, really. So let's talk a little bit. I know we've been talking about sales, and a lot of our listeners are, of course, in sales to some extent at least, because a lot of leaders are in sales, especially
Yep.
also if they're business owners or if they are maybe in that, in such a department in a company. So let's talk a little bit about biotype and leadership, right?
Sure.
I mean, sales
Yeah.
is a type of leadership too, we could say,
Well, and
in
if I
that
can say,
situation.
if I may, sorry for interrupting.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
Really, the new model of sales is leadership.
Mhm.
So I just wanted to say that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I can totally see that. It just, the same thought popped into my mind. So we were aligned there, that's for sure. Uh, yes, but let's talk a little bit more generally about leadership, like people who have teams, for example, right? So who could they use a biotype um, method to
Yeah.
lead people better?
Gosh, that is probably the most fun, is this. And it's easier. Why? Because on a sales call on Zoom, I only see from the chest up and I have to figure you out in 15 minutes. If you're on my team, I have time with you. I could even have you take a biotype test, right? Each biotype has work, has genius that is most suitable to them. It's not necessarily the thing itself, like, oh, you're a diplomat, you can't be a salesperson. No, maybe you're not wired the normal way, but in the way you are selling, you can still make it happen. So I'll just want to drop that first.
Mhm.
When we're in leadership and you're working with people and you understand biotypes, you can instantly identify where people should be and should not be. So if someone's in a position that's not in alignment with their type, move them or have a conversation to redirect their focus. Plus, if you're dealing with people and you know biotypes, again, biotypes is a lens. All tools work and all tools don't work, just like all diets work and all diets don't work. What's the distinction? It's the timing of when, and what do I use right now? And understanding biotypes, you can get people to feel more passionate about their work and want to show up too and do really well. Love the environment even more, love the place where they're at, love you even more. And you're able to, the conversations that you have with them are, they're on the most connected level because it's like you're seeing into my soul and everything that you say really resonates and I start to trust you and feel safe.
Yes, I think it's also about people feeling recognized,
Oh, big time.
people feeling
Hell yeah.
seen because now you see me as who now you understand me better. Now we have a I have a communication level that is deeper in a way.
Yeah.
Even though we might not share personal stuff, right? That's not about that. It's more like, okay, how do I speak to that person? Where do they flourish in the team? How can I, if I don't have the ideal job for that person, but they're still a valuable team member and they want to stay, how can I potentially adapt their tasks, their responsibilities, their job description, or the
Perfect.
environment they are in? So there are many possibilities, really.
Exactly. And that's the whole point about this is it's a filter. You can finally filter out the right thing in front of you.
Mhm.
And if
Yes.
I may bring up something to so I have more context for the audience as to how do we identify people on the spot. When you said that they're able to be seen, I
Mhm.
know that's important to you. And so the fact that you chose that, which is neutral, doesn't mean anything, but the fact that you chose that helps me identify more about your type and also more about where I would guide you. So, like going back to the leadership example of what people share, what's important to them, what comes up, you can use that information to figure out even deeper, like what does this person care about? What matters to them? How do I tailor it such that this biotype really feels seen, feels acknowledged, can thrive, you know?
Absolutely. Well, this
Yeah.
is actually a beautiful conclusion to this conversation, unless you want to absolutely share something else that I haven't asked you.
I'll just say this personalization is no longer an option, it's mandatory.
Yes. Well said. Well said. Well, this has been really wonderful, Andrew. Thank you so very much. Where can people most easily connect with you?
Yeah, you can go to my website, amplifymyy.com. Will there be links under this video?
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
You could join the Facebook group. That's where I connect with my audience in there. You can also grab the ebook, Biotypes in Sales. I'll give you kind of a little introduction of biotypes. Maybe you can find out your biotype. There's a free test in there where you can get an idea about your biotype. And what I'll make an offer for people here. If you guys want to learn more about your biotype or you're curious, you can book like a little call. We can chat, connect for a little bit. So that'll all be part of the link down below.
Okay, great. Yes, let's do that. Let's do that. And I want to inspire everybody who wants to find out more to take Andrew up on this offer. Again, Andrew, thank you so much. And to all listeners, thanks for being here. We appreciate you as always. And we look forward to seeing you next time. Are you ready to create real change in your leadership, your career, your life?
join me for a complimentary Lead and Thrive session, a 60-minute one-on-one strategy session where we will discuss your specific needs and map out the next steps to lead yourself and others powerfully. Spots are limited, so don't wait. Visit transformyourperformance.com/Lead Thrive session to book your Lead and Thrive session today. Let's work together to make it happen. If you enjoyed this episode, hit subscribe, share it, and join us next time.